Welcome back, everybody, to Two Guys and a Stack of Comics. My name is Reed. Along with me, as always, is Mike. Mike, how you doing, sir?
I'm doing great now that I'm talking about comics. Hey, everybody.
Always good to talk comics. You and I have
And
had you got your Thor. We're talking today about Marvel comics. You and I have always tried to have these kind of little debates about who the greatest Marvel hero is and the greatest DC superheroes. I don't think we'll ever agree on the DC one. But for
no,
Marvel, while we would say he's not our favorite, he's not my favorite, but I don't think he's your favorite either. I think you and I both believe there is one character in Marvel Comics who is their greatest superhero. Not their most popular, not their most important, but the greatest superhero. And for you and me, the one agreement we've had on this is I think we both believe Steve Rogers, Captain America, is Marvel's greatest superhero. So I know
I'm
that there's
ready to
probably a
back
lot
that
of
up.
people who disagree with us on this. What we thought we'd do is kind of line up why we believe that and why we believe he is the ultimate Marvel comic superhero, even if he's not our favorite and not the most popular, why we think he stands above the rest. So for
Yep.
you, Mike, if I say Captain America is the greatest Marvel's comic superhero and you had to defend it, what would you say to that? Why do you think he is the number one Marvel superhero?
He's not the most powerful. Um, he was not continuously in print for his entire history. He got canceled. Captain America gets canceled. Yes, he got canceled. And he was, but he was with Marvel before Marvel was Marvel.
Hmm.
And he's Jack Kirby and Joe Simon. He's their brainchild that springboarded and seeded the ground that would eventually become Marvel Comics. Without Captain America, there's no Marvel Comics. Without Captain America breaking through, there's no. It was that success that Simon and Kirby had early on in their career that springboarded them. I mean, who knows what these guys would have done if they didn't have the success with Captain America and get the notoriety and the job opportunities that they did when those guys created that character for what would become Marvel Comics. He's iconic. He is recognizable. He is symbology and what's right and good about America. He's a strong moral compass um, from day one that has been the guiding North Star for all the Marvel heroes throughout their history. Yes, he got canceled in the 50s, but when he came back in Avengers 4, I think it was like 1964, 65.
Yeah. Early 60s, yeah.
When he came back, he was there. It was like he never left. He came in and set the stage, and Kirby drew him brilliantly, and the stories were magnificent. He gets his own comic, um, and guys like Steranko drew him and made him into the icon that he was. And by 1973 or 74, when I'm a kid buying comics, he had this dynamic duo of him and Falcon, and I bought every issue I could. I loved that comic. I just loved that team up. I loved his character. You always knew you were on the right side if you were on Cap's side, and that's the essence of what comics is all about. You want your hero, at least most of the time, you want to know that the guy that you're rooting for is really good because you believe in them, you share their values, and you want them to succeed. You want them to catch the bad guy, protect the innocent, and create good teams with other, like-minded characters. And you know, I think he's the glue in a lot of ways that has held Marvel together through the 60s and 70s. He's not the most famous character. He's not the most powerful character. He's not the most, he doesn't sell the most comics anymore. But yeah, for me, it's Captain America.
Yeah, where I'd have to agree with you with Captain America, I think my favorite Marvel superheroes are Wolverine and Daredevil, and I'd say Spider Man's probably third. But where I'd have to put Captain America first is I think one, when you look at the foundational pieces of comics, like you said, his early success, it predates Marvel. It established everything with it. I think Captain America, the reason I have him is twofold. I think when you look at the reason for his creation, that Kirby and Simon created him because he was a figure they wish existed in real life. He was him punching Hitler on that cover. It's such a cool. I mean, there is no better first appearance cover of any character than more than Captain America. But that was an inherently political statement for them at the time because of what was happening to Jewish people all across the globe. He was a figure that they wish existed to protect folks like them. And I think there's something incredibly powerful to that of superheroes being these legends that we create that we wish existed. And Captain America is one of the most clear cut examples of that happening. I think the other reason that I believe Captain America is Marvel's greatest character is if you really told me, Reed, Marvel Universe is in trouble. Who's the guy with the plan? Who's the guy who's going to lead? Who's the guy that everybody's looking to? He's the answer. It'd be Captain America. Despite Thor and Hulk being stronger, despite Wolverine being more durable, despite Iron Man and Black Panther and Reed Richards being smarter, Captain America is the guy that I think everybody in Marvel would go, no, that's the leader. That's the
Yep.
guy. I think the thing about Captain America makes him great, I think you led to it a little bit, is he represents what's good about America, not America itself. And I think that's the one of the quotes that's often associated with him is I'm loyal to nothing but the dream. Captain
Yeah.
America is loyal to the American dream. He's not exactly always loyal to what the American government's doing or what the American government stands for at the time. He is loyal to the ideas of freedom for all men are created equal, all of those things that we inherently, typically as Americans, believe, and we've failed at those as a country. We haven't always lived up to those. There's been times we've gotten close, there's been times we've been way, way off. But Captain America is a guy who believes in no, this is the American dream, and I stand for that. And anybody who's against that, whether you're in charge of the country or an enemy of the country, I am against you at that time.
Or if you're
I
Tony
think,
Stark
yeah,
in Civil War, right?
Civil War with Tony Stark.
Yeah.
I think the thing that makes Captain America, like you said, it's not necessarily the power set. It's not necessarily, anything inherent to that character other than Captain America's morality, I think is what makes him the greatest character. And that, one of the things is you can write a story where I disagree with Peter Parker or think like, man, he's kind of being stupid here, or
Really
Wolverine or
messed up
Iron Man.
there. Yeah.
Captain America, in all honesty, he's not a character that you really should ever be against in comic books typically if he's being written as he is, because the whole premise of Captain America is largely he is a man who he grew up weak, he grew up frail, he grew up being picked on. He is essentially a superhero exists to stop bullies and create fairness for folks. And
Yeah.
while some people will look at that as naive or simplistic, that's what these superheroes are built off of, purely a guy who does the right thing to do the right thing. And I used to think Captain America was lame. As I've gotten older, you realize how much that character actually means to be the guy who has the strength to go, you know what, I'm just always going to do the right thing. May not be the most popular thing, may not be the coolest thing, but it's going to be the right thing because it's the right thing. And I think there is something so admirable in that, especially when you look at the origins of his creation and why he existed as a
And you
character.
brought up a really good point there. He was the quintessential nerd who couldn't get into the army because he was too scrawny. His eyesight was bad, but he wanted to go fight the war. He wanted to help. And I think, a lot of the early creators really felt that way. Certainly, Siegel and Schuster were outcast because they loved science fiction. Comic books really weren't a thing when Jack Kirby and Joe Simon were kids and where Siegel and Schuster were kids. Comic strips were a thing on the newspaper, but the comic books weren't a thing. And superheroes hadn't been really invented yet, but you could just see their imagination, um, you know, coming together with the nerdy sci-fi kid who gets kicked around at school, and all of a sudden, like he gets the serum, and he is this amazing hero. But the character incorporates all that stuff that the bullied kids think about. They think about fairness. They think about doing what's right because they've been wronged. And of course, you can't deny the fact that these great creators were all Jewish in the 30s and 40s during the Depression, but things were really tough
Really
for
rough for them,
everybody. But
absolutely.
there was one extra level of toughness for them. because of all this anti-Semitism that existed back then. But but yeah, you can just imagine those kids, that sparking their imagination, and they were such creative geniuses that they came up with these iconic characters, and Cap was right there at the forefront. And yeah, what an amazing character. Who knows what Simon and Kirby would have done if they hadn't created Captain America?
Yeah, no, you look at their
It
career trajectory
could have
as a
gone,
result of that and
but they had this
what it led
huge
to.
smash hit right off the bat, million copy of comics per month selling. And and the other thing is that if Marvel hadn't had that success at that crucial moment, Marvel was on the verge of folding every 10 minutes. At one point.
Yeah.
And but comics is a risky business, man.
Well, and I think the thing that Captain, where I changed my mind, I would have always said Spider-Man. And I know most folks will say the greatest Marvel's hero is Spider-Man. And I'm not going to say anybody's 100% wrong if they think that.
Oh, you
Spider-Man
can
is
make an
certainly
argument there. Absolutely.
So Spider-Man is certainly their most popular character. He's certainly the most, I think he's the most popular superhero of anyone across the globe. When you look at video game sales and movie sales and all kinds of stuff, Peter Parker is absolutely why Marvel is the brand that it is. Where I think Captain America stands as his greatest, and where I changed my mind from where I used to only say Spider-Man and I would say Cap, was actually because of a bad storyline. When they did Secret Empire a couple years ago, where Captain America was secretly Hydra, what was
Uh,
interesting to me on that was, and I think the reaction of just comic fans across the board,
I didn't like that one. I was not a
there's been
fan.
stories where Spider-Man's been brainwashed and evil. There's been storylines where Batman has had that happen, Superman has had that happen, where the Thing has had that happen, where all these other characters. For some reason, when that story came out, despite him not being my favorite character, despite him being a character that I've always had on my pull list, but never been like, ooh, buy a Captain America statue kind of guy or anything like that, there was something about that story that hit me. Just it felt inherently like almost evil that this existed, and it was weird because it's a classic comic trope of the hero gets brainwashed or he's bad for a little bit, but there was something just, for lack of a better word, disgusting about watching them have Captain America be a bad guy and kill people and do despicable things
You
that
can't do
hit in
that to
such a
Cap.
way that I was like, no,
Mm-mm,
that this
can't do
is,
that.
it just seemed so wrong. And it was like, the reason this seems so wrong is because this is the standard. This is the standard bearer, the moral center, the leader of the Marvel universe.
What's
And
so sad about it is
that
that
made a huge impact.
what's so sad about it is, and we talk about this a lot about the deconstruction of the hero, is that what's so sad about it is that A, of course, they went there, um, but B, you can't do that to Cap, and he is, stood his ground, so to speak, fictitiously through a lot of this deconstructionism, and he was
Mhm.
there, to kind of come back to, like I said, your guiding north star, that you could deconstruct so much, but you could go back to Cap, and he could rally the team again, and and it would be all right. But then you go and you ruin Captain America. It was really depressing for me.
Yeah, no, I think for a lot of folks, that was the story that really made them think like, oh man, we're really on the wrong path with my for me it was interesting in that I remember people talking about modern comics being not as good. And it was interesting is it didn't really for me at that time when that story happened. I was kind of like, they're not, Neil Adams and Denny O'Neil quality, but they're still really good. And then when that storyline happened, I was like, oh wow, no, there is something fundamentally broken here. There is something that we've got to fix. And I think part of why that story existed is I think it was like you said, it was the attempt of what if we deconstruct Captain America? And I just think universally fans were like, no, man, not that. You don't do it to that guy. You don't do it to that one.
You can't do it
And
to him.
I think that's where he does stand out as the greatest superhero in Marvel Comics is I think he stands for something so universal that I don't care whether you were a jock, a nerd, an outcast, whether you fit in, whether you didn't. I think all of us inherently believe superheroes are there to protect those in need. And essentially, the mission statement of Captain America is I don't like bullies. I'm going to go stop them. That's it. I'm loyal to the American dream of freedom and equality of, for all. And whether America's living up to that or not, I'm going to stand for that. Whether the government stands for that or not, I'm going to stand for that. And I think there's always something so admirable in that. And that where I think
Okay,
Cap stands out is there's a lot of heroes you like. Captain America is one that inspires you. And I think it's really rare that you have a character who does that. Go ahead, Mike.
two quick bonus topics on this one that came to mind. Okay, so number one, uh, was Steve Rogers the was Steve Rogers the Peter Parker of his day? Because so much that frail, nerdy kid was inside, this muscle man now,
Hmm.
and he had this outlook, he's looking at the world with scrawny Steve Rogers eyes, but now he has the body to do something about it.
Yep.
Was he the prototypical
No,
Peter
I think
Parker?
there's a ton of I think there is a ton of that in comics where again, one of the things that these great characters do, it's the wish fulfillment, right? You do wish when you were the outcast nerd that no, if people just saw my true potential, if I was given
Yeah.
a shot, I would be, if I was, and I think Cap's that guy where it's like the nerd who would go, no, man, if I was as tall and as athletic as the jock and the quarterback, I wouldn't be like him. I'd still be a good guy.
And
And
I'd
I think
check him when
Cap,
he went
yeah,
around the wrong path. Yeah.
and I think, yeah, for sure, that's a huge element of it. And I think another piece that Captain America is it's not even just necessarily America. There is a huge piece of that surprised me when the MCU happened. That you had a character called Captain America, and I was like, I know it's going to do well in the States,
Yeah.
but putting this movie in theaters overseas and has the box office and the fact that Captain America became a favorite superhero for other countries is insane. That
Totally.
character wrapped in that color scheme and I think it just shows to the creation of the character what he stands for, who he is. Again, it's not necessarily the Captain America piece, it's Steve Rogers. It's not the shield, it's not the symbol. It's that universal appeal of Steve Rogers of the small, scrawny kid who just wants to help those in need. And I think sometimes we overthink comic books. I think
Yeah.
sometimes these heroes, there's an overthinking that takes place of we got to make them cooler and edgier and darker and put metal blades on their costume and guns and all kinds of stuff. And look, I like a ton of those characters like that, but there is something inspiring and refreshing about a character who is simply just nope. I stand for this. This is who I am.
And to
There you
like
go.
to look at the writing part of it, that kind of character tugs at your heart, while the flash and the armor, not the flash, but
Yeah.
I'm all about, but the armor and the spikes and the powers and all these other nebulous social conscious political delvings into, that's all up here in the headspace, right, for a reader to try and link up with and enjoy. But the essence of some of these characters, especially Captain America, tugs way deeper at you. It's not a mental thing, it's a heart and a gut type of thing, and that's why Cap is so good. And then the final extra bonus point round for Captain America is, do you feel when they did that storyline with him and Hydra that it permanently damaged him in any way? I'll let you
No,
go.
I think it permanently damaged Marvel Comics. I don't think it damages Captain America. I think
Okay.
I will say my affinity for Marvel from that storyline went down quite, and they've tried to make it up and they've tried to do, oh, it was a separate character and it wasn't really Steve. He was corrupted and all this. I get it. And it's comics. They do that kind of stuff all the time.
Right,
But I
right.
think for me, where it damaged Marvel more than, and again, I still obviously like Marvel, but where I've never been as invested in Marvel since that event, I haven't really bought any of their event books. I rarely buy the Avengers anymore, is because there should have been someone, and where it damaged Marvel to me is
Right.
there should have been someone at Marvel Comics going, guys, wait, Jack Kirby is the reason we have Marvel Comics.
Yeah.
Jack Kirby's creation was
We would.
Captain America, and Captain America was an anti-fascist character who literally existed to stop forces like Hydra, which represent the Nazis.
Right.
This is the foundational piece of this character is him punching Hitler in the face as the dream of two Jewish guys wishing this character existed, and you're going to turn him into a Nazi. There should have been someone somewhere at Marvel going,
Put the
guys,
brakes on that one.
no,
Sorry, guys.
we
We
can
need
turn
another
any
script.
other character evil. We can do any other story. We're not doing that to Kirby. We're not doing that to this character. No. And the fact that not only did they do it, that they promoted it, that they built an event around it, that they turned it into this like, ooh, he's edgy and we're trying to make Sam Wilson Captain America now. It just rubbed me such a wrong way on that that it's not that I'm done with Marvel. I still buy my favorite characters, but it didn't damage Steve. It didn't damage him. It damaged the way that I see Marvel
How's he
comics.
doing now in the comics, guys? Let me know
The
below in the
Yeah,
comments.
and let us
I
know what
haven't
you
read a
guys
Cap
think.
book in a long time, but
It's been a while. Cap has had seen better times for sure. The movies are doing well with them, but let us know what you guys think below. Do you think Cap has, did if you didn't think he was, did we sway you at all that he might be Marvel's greatest hero? If not, let us know who you think Marvel's greatest hero is down below. Feel free to comment as much as you want to about why you feel the character that you feel is the greatest hero. We always like to hear that. And if you think we're wrong, we are always open to hearing that as well. As always, folks, thank you guys for watching. God bless you. We'll catch you on our next video.
thanks, everybody.